You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, Kansas police arrest 2 suspects accused of throwing a chemical bomb.
Winter weather giving us everything from flooding concerns down to the south to a wintry mix, creating slick spots on the road. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And nonprofit groups in the area feel the pinch from higher prices on just about everything. We'll have all that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to our top stories in just a moment. But first, let's head over to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Tanya, for those of you just waking up with us, number 1, good morning, and thank you for doing so. Number 2, let's talk about the road conditions as you get ready to head out the door, because we're already picking up slick roads throughout the majority of the 4 states, pushed down to the south. Kind of maintains more of a rain to it, but I want to point out the Missouri Department of Transportation page here, because all this right here, that purple that you see, whether it be 126, whether it be 49, that is an indicator that those highways and interstates are completely covered right now. We have not had any storm reports, but they are definitely picking up slick spots. That's coming from the Highway Patrol. An indicator that even though it took a while to get down around the freezing mark, it didn't take any time, especially on the bridges and the overpasses, to form. Here we are over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin, sitting squarely at 32 degrees. The rain at least has lightened up a little bit, but it's now going to be replaced with the freezing rain. So while it won't be the torrential downpour that we're now seeing south of I-44 in southwest Missouri, this is really the most dangerous travel conditions that we're going to encounter. As we get up into the purple, that's the rain-snow mix. The majority of southeast Kansas now transitioning over into all snow, and that's where we'll see the majority of our accumulation. Flood watches for our counties in green, lasting all the way to 6 o'clock. 2 to 4 inches of rain by the time it's said and done. And then as we look at our temperatures, everybody pretty much right at, if not a little bit below, the freezing mark. When we talk about what it feels like, look up to the northwest. 8 and 9 degrees. Here's what Tanya and I have been stressing all morning long. If everybody takes it nice and slow, give yourself a lot of room between you and other drivers. This is not going to be an elongated affair like what we had at the beginning of February. As a matter of fact, after we get through today, have a freezing cold night, we rebound Friday, get close to 40 degrees, 50 on Saturday, 60 on Sunday. Patience will prevail, Tanya. Like I said, we take it easy for the morning and the evenings. We'll be fine come tomorrow.
It's really hard to believe we're going to be down to 14 tonight and be in the 60s on Sunday.
Yes.
But hey, that's the 4 states for you.
Let the melt begin.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Mercy Hospital in Joplin rolls back to pre-pandemic policies, except when visiting COVID-positive patients. Hospital visitors will not be screened when they come in, but will still need to wear a medical-grade mask. Officials say the change stems from changes to Medicare and Medicaid services guidelines. Independence, Kansas police arrest 2 suspects accused of throwing a chemical bomb out of a vehicle. Incident happened on February 2nd. Police say Kendra Musgrove and Josh Wallace made the bomb and threw it near the home of Wallace's ex-wife. Both Musgrove and Wallace are charged with criminal use of explosives, attempted criminal damage to property, aggravated assault, and attempted arson. 4 out of 9 suspects in a Lawrence County murder investigation get prison time. The latest, Kimberly Henderson, gets sentenced to 25 years in prison for first-degree robbery. She was originally charged with first-degree murder in the 2020 shooting death of Sarah Pascoe. 3 other suspects in the crime have been sentenced. For more on that and the status of the remaining suspects, you can check out this story, KOAMnewsnow.com. Coffeyville, Kansas man finally learns his fate for a drive-by shooting death. A judge sentenced Benjamin Mason II to 25 years without the possibility of parole for killing 19-year-old Kimberly Meeks in 2019. Mason pled no contest to a charge of first-degree murder in the case. He had originally been charged with a number of other crimes in the shooting, including attempted first-degree murder, but those charges were dropped as part of a plea deal. Mason was 18 at the time of the shooting. Area nonprofits are being hit hard by inflation on goods such as groceries and fuel. Area Agency on Aging says it's trying to work around it. The biggest program affected is Meals on Wheels. They say they've had the same government funding since 2009. They say inflation has made it difficult to deliver meals to their seniors.
Making sure we have all the components for the home delivered meals program, and it also includes maintenance on the trucks that we use to deliver those meals. So you got the fuel, the tires, all of that. We are stuck at 2009 funding from the state and the federal government.
Agency says they've increased the number of fundraisers per year to help with costs. Oklahoma's state tax on grocery purchases would be eliminated under a bill a Senate committee easily approved. The tax currently stands at 4.5%. The Senate Finance Committee unanimously approved the bill on Tuesday. A similar measure to phase out the tax over 3 years cleared a House committee last week with bipartisan support. Governor Kevin Stitt endorsed the idea last week in his State of the State address. Neither bill would prohibit cities or counties from levying their own sales tax on groceries. And the Oklahoma Commissioner of Public Safety has announced, due to inclement weather, state agencies may temporarily reduce non-essential services beginning this morning from now until 12 p.m. Reduction will affect the following counties in Oklahoma: Kay and Noble counties, Osage, Payne, and Pawnee. State employees designated to maintain basic minimum services or staff essential functions should remain at work or report to work as scheduled. As Michael stated earlier, Osage County has already sent in several storm reports. The biggest vivid blue diamond is up for grabs for a pretty penny. It's called the De Beers Cullinan Blue, something like that. Sotheby's says it could sell for at least $48 million. The 15.1 carat gem is also the largest internally flawless set cut vivid blue diamond that the Gemological Institute of America has ever appraised. The GIA has also deemed the diamond as fancy vivid blue, the highest color grading possible. The big rock is expected to be placed for auction at Sotheby's Hong Kong Luxury Week in April. And I would not mind owning that ring. Just saying. All right, up next, Chef Anthony fires up the burners for a sautéed pork cutlet recipe that you're definitely not going to want to miss. And later, there's still plenty of time to vote in today's Morning Talker. We want to know, how's your work-life balance? You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Dear Winter.
You're probably ready to ditch the mask, and of course, you're not the only one. But the CDC saying, nah, not yet. Britt Conway with the latest on the mask debate as pandemic burnout builds.
We're fighting against a burning desire among the country to get this over with.
75% of Americans in a recent poll say they are over this pandemic. They're burned out. But opinion on whether we should learn to live with COVID-19 or continue to fight it is split. But health experts say it has to be both. Fight it, but no, it's not going to disappear.
The best we can hope for is to get it down so low. That's when we could say, you know what? We have virus in the community, but it's not disrupting our function. And I believe we can get there.
We're not there yet, but new cases nationwide, overall hospitalizations and deaths are dropping. And that's what cities and states around the country are looking at. Only 3 states and Puerto Rico have yet to announce an end to mask mandates. But the CDC isn't changing its mask guidance, not yet anyway.
It will be based on the data and the science.
Same goes for kids in school. Health experts say it's too soon to stop masking.
It is really not prudent to pull masks off children. You could create a risk that you would see an increase in infections.
But the truth is, it's not up to officials in D.C.
We know that local officials will make their own judgments about what works best for their schools, but we're hopeful that local officials will really carefully consider all the science.
I'm Britt Conway, reporting.
On a lighter note, if you've ever wondered what you do after retiring from a career in mixed martial arts, well, if your name is Stipe Miocic, you become a firefighter. That's right. Former UFC heavyweight champ was sworn in as a full-time employee of the fire department in the bustling metropolis of Westlake, Ohio, a little suburb of Cleveland there. He was joined by 2 other new hires at the ceremony. Miocic previously worked with the fire department in nearby Valley View. Had no idea. Oh, how about that? All right, on days like this, of course, your one-stop resource for all closings is KOAMnewsnow.com, KOAMnewsnow.com. And that's not only for schools that we have our list up right now. but also businesses, organizations, government buildings, pretty much whatever you need to know and in case we can keep you from heading out the door, because we got a little bit of a mess on our hands. Let's flip on over and talk about road conditions as far as what we're experiencing on this Thursday morning. Now, the majority of the 4 states is going to run into the slick spots. I've got firsthand knowledge from our friends Wallace back in Master Control. He works here, and he didn't get here too long ago, and he was giving me a heads up here. Highway 69 in particular, he said, you get up to 50 miles an hour, you start to feel it. You're going to go each way. So about 40 to 45 is about as fast as he was going, and to each their own, but I just wanted to give you some firsthand knowledge there about what we're experiencing, because we're seeing the freezing rain indicated in the pink sink down now along 44, 49, and of course right in the middle of Joplin. We're seeing the transition to snow through most of southeast Kansas, and still the heavy torrential rainfall in southern southwest Missouri, and that's why we've got those flood watches down there as well. The pink, that's that transitional phase. That's where we're going from just the freezing rain into more of the rain and the snow. We only have one storm report so far, and I want to reiterate, so far. That comes out of Osage County, but that was a tenth of accumulation of ice, tenth of an inch of ice accumulation, and that, I tell you what, as quickly as that got on us, that's something to be worried about right there. All right, there's our flood watches indicated in green. Then we've got the winter weather advisories in the purple, and then eventually we're going to have to talk about single-digit wind chills as everything pushes down here. These are actual temperatures, so everybody pretty much below the freezing mark right now, and sure enough, timing right as we anticipated. Boom, midnight. There we go. Straight down to wind chills that right now are single digits in Iola and Yates Center, holding on to the teens in the central portion of the 4 states. Later this morning, throughout the afternoon hours, we transition into all snow. We'll be looking at 2 to 4 inches for the central portion, 4 to 6. Farther north you go to Kansas City, get down to I-44 to the south, about an inch to a trace, if not a dusting. Give it until tomorrow. 40s, 50s, and then 60s by Sunday. We'll be back. Chef Anthony's with us in Studio K right after this.
It's.com.
The moment you've been waiting for. We have Chef Anthony here joining us from PHS, and we're going to be making a complete meal. And you were telling me that this, for 2 people, you can make this meal for like $3 a person.
$3 to $5. It just all depends on how much you pay for the pork. And if you get a good piece of pork, you can actually split it. This is a rather large piece. This is technically a serving for 2.
Well.
Technically.
Depends how big you want your servings.
That's true. But we're going to use the frozen green beans from this morning. We're going to use a packet mashed potato specifically because it's shelf stable and we're looking to consume on a budget. So these are actually really healthy for you and really easy to eat. The only consideration you need to take in this is if you have a gluten-free person in your home.
Oh, good.
Because it does have a little bit of gluten inside of it.
But even if you went with like actual potatoes, those aren't expensive either.
No, they're not. They just take a little bit more time. The idea for this is quick, fast dinner that you can make in the middle of the week and just enjoy as a family.
And you already have these on your shelves. Okay, so what are we going to get started with?
All right, what we're going to do first is we're going to start getting some pans hot, getting some water ready to go for our potatoes, and we're going to turn some fire on. We're going to do the full pork cutlet, and we're going to make a gravy to go along with it just so everybody can kind of get some excitement. Here we have flour and seasoning, just whatever seasoning is your favorite, and we're just going to kind of combine it really, really well.
And this is your seasoning blend that you make?
Yes, this is my personal favorite seasoning blend. I use it for almost everything that I do because it is so naturally good. And then we're going to get some butter in our pan. Throw some butter in our pan. And then we're going to come over to some green bean pan and throw some butter in there.
Would this be a good recipe to use with the compound butter that we made?
I wouldn't suggest using it with a compound butter because you're going to have contrasting flavors unless you match your breading and anything else that you make along with it.
Because you're going to have the seasonings in the breading.
Exactly. Okay. You don't want to contrast too terribly much. A little bit, yes.
However, in the green beans, that might be interesting.
Yes, it would be very good in the green beans. So we're just going to lay our pork cutlet right down in, and you can go to a butcher. Simon Market does these for me. They're absolutely wonderful. He runs them through his tenderizer, which makes nice little wonderful pockets for all the goodness inside of it. Mm-hmm. So now we have butter melting over here for our green beans. We're going to add in onions and garlic.
Okay.
And we're going to give it just a little bit of a shake. Get them spread out a little bit and go right in with our green beans. Beautiful green beans. You can take them from frozen. You can hit them with a little bit of water.
No, these were the frozen ones.
These are the frozen ones. All I did was hit them with just a little bit of cold water right in the bag, drained them out, put them in a bowl.
Now, if you missed our segment on our KOAM morning news about 45 minutes ago, we talked about the different options you have for cooking vegetables, whether it's canned or frozen or fresh, and price differences and health differences and different what works better for what options. So if you missed that, you can always check it out online a little bit later this morning, KOAMnewsnow.com.
Here I have my seasoning blend that I've been using on here with you guys. It's really wonderful. I'm adding a little bit of seasoning right into my green beans, just like so. And I'll give it just a little shake and maybe a toss and get all the goodness together. And we're just gonna let it sit and simmer.
Okay.
We have water coming to a boil over here for our mashed potatoes. And we're checking our pork cutlet. And remember, I told you, when the meat is ready to release from any good pan, it's gonna jiggle. See how it's just all jiggly like that? And we're looking for that very beautiful golden brown and delicious color. And we're getting right there.
About how long, that's pretty thin, since it's been tenderized pork. How long would you say it would take to cook that overall?
It depends on your pan and which medium that you're using and the heat that you use, but 3 to 6 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It cooks relatively quickly, and the green beans and the water for your mashed potatoes and everything should all come together as one cohesive meal really fast for you.
Okay, we've got a water boiling there.
And we're starting to get that beautiful golden brown color on our pork, so we're going to turn it over, give our green beans another shake because we don't want them to sit, and we're going to add our mashed potato packet right into our water and remove it from the heat after we give it a mix.
The one you picked was loaded baked mashed potatoes. That sounds yummy.
Oh yes, it's wonderful, wonderfully good. And just follow the directions on your mashed potatoes. This one says once you add them, to give them a mix and remove them from the heat.
Okay.
To let them thicken up.
And
that's all I've done.
Space to do that unless you want to put it over here.
I got it right there on the side, perfectly right out of the burner.
There you go.
And we'll set our whisk to the side.
Okay, so we have everything cooking up here. Do we want to go ahead and go to commercial break and come back with the
That would be good, because when we come back, we can do the pan sauce, and I have a surprise for you on the pan sauce.
Oh, sweet. All right, well, we will go to break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
In America,
All right, Chef Anthony is with us this morning, and in our last segment, we started our pork cutlet, we started mashed potatoes, and our green beans.
Yes, and everything's coming together. Our pork is out, it's golden brown and delicious and looks ever so wonderful. Now, we're gonna start with the gravy.
Okay.
So, put our pan back on with everything. We're gonna put some butter in to deglaze.
This isn't your traditional gravy. This one is, got a little something special in it.
Yes, and then I'm gonna put a little onions and little red onions and garlic in here. I always use red onions versus shallots just because I like the flavor better.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna give it a little wiggle jiggle, let the butter melt down, kind of letting the fond on the bottom, which is all the goodies that stick to the bottom of the pan. And then we're gonna add a little bit of brandy right to it.
Not too much. Woo!
And we're gonna deglaze our pan. A little fireworks for you this morning on this nice,
yeah,
cold,
you did
icy
say you
day.
were gonna surprise me. Yeah.
Get everything moving around really well.
Warm on the eyebrows there.
Let's not forget our green beans over here. And then now that everything's all melted and gooey together, we're gonna take a little bit of our flour that we use to season with, because it already has flavors in it, and we're gonna add it right into our pan. And then we're gonna whisk away.
Okay.
We're gonna get it all nice and thick, like so. You can see all the goodness inside of here. Everything's coming from the pan. And then we're gonna add chicken stock.
Okay. Not chicken broth, but chicken stock?
Chicken stock. Chicken broth is made with meat. Chicken stock is made from vegetables and the bones.
Oh, okay.
And we're gonna stir this just like so.
I always wondered what the difference really was between the two, broth and stock.
And I'm going to go ahead and turn my heat down really low because it's already hot. It's cooking down, everything's combining. See how beautiful that's coming together?
Oh, that's gonna be delicious.
And then I'm gonna turn my heat all the way off. Okay, I'm also gonna turn the heat off on my vegetables and give them one more last little jiggle before I get them ready to go onto a plate. And then my favorite word in the entire French language, Monty au beurre.
Oh,
Let's mount with butter. Piece of cold butter right inside.
Monty au beurre.
And I'm gonna give it a little jiggle around like this and let it melt in. It gives a nice shine to your gravy.
Yeah.
So, and everything's coming right together. Now for the good stuff.
Okay, so you gave me a Ziploc bag this morning.
Yes. Remember I told you that we can make plates really nice when we did the ribeye with your potatoes and stuff? Ziploc bag, mashed potatoes.
Spoon.
And a spoon. We're just gonna take our mashed potatoes and we're gonna spoon them right into our Ziploc bag. Just like so.
Okay.
Seal it shut. Give it a shake down to the corner. Let some air out so you can hold on to it. Oh, that's good. I don't want it to squeeze out on me. See, squeeze it down, no air. Now, if you would be so kind as to cut that corner off for me.
How big of a cut?
A little more. Right
there?
there's works. And then we'll do it just like so. Give it a little twist.
Of course, the more potatoes, the more you put in your bag.
Exactly. And you can put a nice little line right down the side of it. Stack it up, give it a little bit of prettiness to it.
Well, that'd be fun for holidays to make them in the shape of whatever.
Whatever you're working on. Now I have our vegetables. And I'm going to put our vegetables right on the side.
Oh my goodness.
Look at how beautiful that looks.
All right, so.
And we have our wonderful little sauce.
Oh yeah, can't forget that.
Can't
So
forget
we got
the
our
best
pork
part.
cutlet, our sauteed veggies, and what do you call the sauce?
This is just a pan sauce.
Like a brandy pan sauce?
A brandy pan sauce, sauteed pan sauce, and look how absolutely stunningly gorgeous that plate is.
Oh my goodness.
Everything's there, everything's all easy. The whole meal doesn't take very long to do, but it's action-packed with flavors.
Oh, that is so gorgeous. I feel guilty digging into it, but I want to because I want to taste this and see.
Please do.
See how it is. Okay, and thank you again to Simon Market for providing the
Absolutely.
meat for this, for sure.
They do anything that you can dream up, they can take care of for you. All their beef is Missouri beef, so they have really good products. Their eggs are fresh. Isn't that wonderful?
Oh my goodness, that's good.
And it doesn't take long at all. Dinner for the family, really relatively inexpensive, and action-packed full of flavors.
Let me try one of these green beans too. Good.
You would never know the difference.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, they taste like fresh green beans too.
They do.
And those were the frozen ones. That last longer. You've had all this in your fridge and freezer. Yeah. Amazing.
Amazing. Have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoy.
I will, and be safe out there because the
I
roads
will.
are getting icy.
They are.
All right, well, thank you so
school.
much. And again, you can find this recipe on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. A little bit later this morning, we'll have all 3 segments from today on there as well. Thank you so much again for coming in.
My pleasure. I'll see you next week.
All right, looking forward to it. We'll be right back.
Good luck trying.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:33. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Police in Independence, Kansas arrest 2 suspects who they say threw a chemical bomb out of a vehicle. It happened February 2nd. Police say Kendra Musgrove and Josh Wallace made the bomb and threw it near the home of Wallace's ex-wife. Both Musgrove and Wallace are charged with criminal use of explosives, attempted criminal damage to property, aggravated assault, and attempted arson. Mercy Hospital in Joplin is changing its visitor restrictions to pre-pandemic policies, except when visiting COVID-positive patients. Hospital visitors will not be screened when they come in, but still need to wear a medical-grade mask. Officials say the change stems from changes to Medicare and Medicaid services guidelines. Coming up later, we're going to find out about the latest CDC mask mandate meeting and possible changes on the horizon. Inflation remains an issue for consumers, but its impact continues to be a burden on nonprofits and the services they provide. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with the Area Agency on Aging about ways that price increases have affected the help they provide to the community.
As people head to gas stations or the grocery store, it's hard to ignore price increases in everyday needs. For nonprofits, inflation affects the care they can provide to those they serve.
The fuel prices just in the last couple of months have skyrocketed, and they're just going to continue to go up. So that's something that we're constantly going to have to keep our eye on.
The Area Agency on Aging provides assistance to seniors throughout Southwest Missouri, from Lamar all the way to McDonald County. So a rise in gas prices creates some financial woes beyond paying at the pump.
That's a lot of miles per week that we're putting on these trucks. So, we have to replace the tires every so often. We have some trucks that are not really old, but they need a lot of maintenance so that we can make sure that they're going to go all the way down to McDonald County and back safely without any issues.
Inflation also impacts services like meals that the nonprofit distributes.
It affects our nutrition program primarily because of the food costs, serving meals at the senior centers, making sure we have all the components for the home delivered meals program.
All of their meals must be USDA approved. To afford to meet that requirement, the nonprofit has needed to increase their amount of fundraisers to fill in the gaps between funding they receive and costs they pay.
Our end goal is just to make sure our seniors are getting the services they need, and that's what we want to do, but it's a pretty big challenge with the way costs are going right now.
And while they've been able to continue their services, the nonprofit worries they'll need to start a wait list for people in the future. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Area Agency on Aging also says they've been stuck with a funding amount from 2009. On Monday, an NOAA response team provided some much-needed assistance to an entangled female humpback whale in Humpback Whale National Marine Sanctuary. This was just outside of Maui. The adult female, accompanied by her calf and a male escort humpback, had a tight wrap of moderate gauge line wrapped around her head in front of her pectoral flippers. The wrap also included a large bundle of marine debris. The rescue took about 6 hours as the almost 500 feet of measurable line was wrapped tightly around the female. Once freed, the mother and her calf went into resting behavior, with the calf tucking under the mother's chin. The successful response increased the survival chances for both the mother and her calf.
Beautiful scenery and sky out there. Wish we had something like that.
Yeah.
Tanya, here's our camera. Say what?
A little different view for us.
A little bit. Here's our, the only reason I take this shot, this is our live look outside of Television City. To say we have a glaze of ice, that would be a vast understatement. And now we're beginning to get reports out of Joplin that the ice beginning to cover the roads throughout the city as well. Done with the torrential rain, but since we sit right at the freezing point, ice is our main concern. Road conditions deteriorating. Highway 69 reporting multiple slide-offs. And also, too, I want to point out I-49 Thorn Road, that is the Jasper exit. If you're familiar with that, you'll notice it comes in as partially covered there in the blue. But to give you an idea, there's drop down to Joplin right there, and then if you take 49 up to the north, once you get to the Jasper exit, Thorn Road, we've got multiple slide-offs reported there from the Jasper County Dispatch. 35, 40 miles an hour is about the best that I've heard anybody going and still feeling comfortable. So everybody just slow down. The heavier rain working its way through southwest Missouri. Once again, that's our problematic area. The freezing rain that we're seeing, the ice that's accumulating. And then we switch over into mostly snow. As a matter of fact, Coffee County already up close to 3 inches of snow since this morning, and we'll certainly see the majority. That's that storm report coming out right there. This storm report out of Osage County, 1/10 of an inch of ice accumulation already. So roads are not going to get any better here. Our road crews, they're out doing yeoman's work right now, but I'm just telling you, we all have to slow down. A lot of room between you and other drivers as well. Don't be in a hurry. If you're going to be late, be late. Hey, you know what? Get there in one piece. How about it? Temperatures down below the freezing point, still waiting down here in southwest Missouri, but eventually everybody ends up with single-digit wind chills tonight. We get through today safe. We're going to be fine for the rest of the weekend as we'll be in the 60s by the time we get to Sunday. But once again, we will continue to update our road conditions that are deteriorating as we work through this Thursday morning. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
We know you depend on us for news and information.
Tonight on Fox.
We take this time to honor this morning's four-state hero. Garland Bolander, a native of Parsons, Kansas, was a private first class in the United States Marine Corps and a veteran of World War II. He fought in both Japan and China. To PFC Garland Bolander, we thank you, this morning's four-state hero. This morning for the KOAM News Now Instapoll and our Something to Talk About, work-life balance. There's a new series called Severance. It takes a look at work life through a darkly comedic lens, and certainly not the first time the subject has been given comedy treatment. Both versions of The Office did it for years in the movie Office Space. That is truly a bona fide cult classic, if you can find your stapler. Our question to you this morning is, how is your work-life balance? Right now, 34% of you say you find it just perfect, and another 31% say good. So, we're looking at 65% of you saying if it's not good, it's everything you could want it to be. I think that is tremendous that you're all able to pull that off and feel that way. It makes me feel very, very happy on this Thursday morning. You can always take part in our poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or connect to us via our Facebook page. Turning from a new TV series to a double dose of music news, and how a tech mogul has influenced a new movie. David Daniel with our Hollywood Minute.
Wake up, everybody wake up. Morning comes, you do it all again.
Bon Jovi is heading out on tour this spring, and your band could join them. The Rock and Roll Hall of Famers are inviting local bands to submit audition videos of original music. They'll choose one band to open for them at each concert. Details at bonjovi.com.
Get yourself on the floor. Ain't that what friends are for? Where we go when there ain't no ceiling.
Train's new tune is AM Gold, the title track off their first album of all new original music in 5 years. The disc drops May 20th, and June 8th, Train kicks off a 2-month North American tour featuring Jewel and Blues Traveler. Info at SaveMeSanFrancisco.com.
Who is he? He's a hacker. He knows many things, all the way to the top. Hello, Detective Breslin.
Emile Hirsch's voice choice in the new action thriller Pursuit had a surprising inspiration.
I was watching this Elon Musk interview, and I was seeing the sort of deadpan way that Elon Musk was talking, and I went, that's it. That's the guy. This is the character.
Pursuit opens in theaters and on demand Friday. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Coming up next, consumer news, including why some airlines want unruly passengers on a no-fly list. Be back right after this.
The number of unruly passengers on airplanes is growing. The Federal Aviation Administration has reported nearly 500 incidents so far just this year. And now some airlines are calling on the Justice Department for help. Pete Muntian has the story.
Faced with a man trying to open the door of an American Airlines flight, court documents say the flight crew turned to a coffee pot to subdue him. Police have now charged 50-year-old Juan Humberto Rivas with interfering with a flight attendant. This as even more unruly airline passengers are facing federal punishment. The FAA is now handing 43 cases to the Department of Justice so it can bring charges against those accused of assaulting fellow passengers and flight crews, both physically and in some cases sexually. If found guilty, they could face jail time.
The flight attendants who are working these flights have been punched, kicked, spit on, disrespected, and constantly under assault.
Sarah Nelson of the Association of Flight Attendants says the numbers are off the charts. The now 80 total cases referred to the Justice Department make up only 1% of the 6,480 incidents reported by flight crews since the start of last year.
Until we have people actually landing in jail and understanding that there's real consequences for acting out on a flight, we're not going to see these incidents go down.
Airlines have asked the Justice Department to keep unruly passengers from boarding flights in the first place, a move 8 Republican senators say should be up to Congress to decide. In a new letter, they insist most unruly passenger incidents are related to the federal transportation mask mandate. They say creating a federal no-fly list for unruly passengers who are skeptical of this mandate would seemingly equate them to terrorists. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says a no-fly list should be considered and more passengers should be put behind bars to keep numbers down.
there is no acceptable level of unruly behavior on aircraft, especially when it is not only disrespectful but dangerous toward flight crews and other passengers.
Well, the DOJ says it is working with other federal agencies on the possibility of creating no-fly lists. For now, airlines are allowed to create their own, but that doesn't stop passengers banned on one airline from buying a ticket on another. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Dear Winter, my...
Sure, you've probably heard that a flock of crows is called a murder. It's called a group of crows. Well, there's a murder of crows that's been plaguing the courthouse in downtown St. Louis for quite a long time. But a number of the black birds are suddenly dropping dead. Some wildlife experts are now very concerned. Ryan Henson with the details.
Reminiscent of scenes from the Alfred Hitchcock classic, crows are constantly covering downtown trees.
Seasonally, crows and many other birds will group together in large flocks, especially in winter before the breeding season starts in the spring.
Roger Holloway, the executive director of the World Bird Sanctuary, says a die-off of many animals of the same species indicates a problem. A spokesperson for the Missouri Department of Conservation says the birds weren't physically injured and had no signs of blood. That rules out an attack or shooting. The option of poison is still on the table, but it appears only crows were impacted, diminishing the chances that that's the cause, because likely other types of birds would have been infected. Another option, a virus or illness.
If there is a virus or a bacteria of some kind, that would spread much more quickly, just like we all experienced with the pandemic. When we were close together, we knew that was a better chance for the virus to spread among us.
Not an uncommon scenario.
Many years ago, it was identified as West Nile virus was killing birds, especially crows, because they were able to do close, detailed autopsies on them and determine that it was a virus that was attacking their brain.
For now, we must wait for the test results before getting to the bottom of this phenomenon.
All right, let's roll through some traffic incidents that we have because of the ice and the snow. All right, we're going to start on I-49 right there in the middle of your screen in Jasper. Mile marker 66 and 67. That's going to be at I-49 and the Thorn Road exit. We've got minor accidents due to ice on the roadway. We've got the Department of Transportation as well as the Highway Patrol on those. Now, I want to transition over to Highway 69. Coming from, let's go from 400 all the way down 69 to about the four-way stop in Crestline. Carrie, how fast were you going on the way here? 35. Carrie was going 35. She witnessed multiple slide-offs on the way here, so 35 is as fast as you even want to try to touch it there on 69, because once again, this is built up from the freezing rain, and now we've got the transition over to the rain and the snow. You get up to the north up there, we get a little bit better. We also have an inch of ice that's accumulated in Osage County in portions of Oklahoma, and now we've got half an inch of sleet coming out of South Coffeyville in Nowata County, Oklahoma. So once again, the best thing to do, folks, is if you don't have to go anywhere, let this thing pass through. If you do have to go somewhere, take it slow. Okay, we're talking snail's pace is what's going to win the race this morning. Now, eventually, just like the rain that we're seeing drop off to the south and off to the east, that's where our freezing rain will go as well, and eventually we'll transition into all snow for the afternoon hours. But that being said, let's not forget we've got flood watches in effect for our counties in green throughout southwest Missouri, because we've already picked up about 2 to 3 inches of rain. Our ground has been so dry, our creeks and streams and soil in general is going to have a hard time supporting all that. And then everything's just going to flip on over because our temperatures are all below the freezing mark. And look at this is what we've got for temperatures. We topped out at midnight. After that, it has been down, down, down we go on the mercury, to the point where we're looking at mid-20s up to the northwest, and now even for the southeastern portion of the four states, Monette and Cassville hanging on the 33, and as the cold front continues through Arkansas, that's easily going to be single-digit wind chills for tonight. So once again, I'm just going to urge safety, 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 because we get through today, high 30s, 50s, 60s coming over the weekend. All the closings, if you have any questions about those, whether it be businesses, organizations, or activities, remember, we've got your one-stop source. All you have to do is go to KOAMnewsnow.com, KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll be back right after this.
It's Highwind's great meal, and finish it off with some serious gaming entertainment. Details at highwindscasino.com.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Russia says this video shows trainloads of armored vehicles withdrawing from the Ukrainian border. But the State Department says the threat of an invasion remains high and that the U.S. sees more Russian forces in the area, not fewer. Ukraine's president is also skeptical about a Russian withdrawal, saying it's too early to rejoice. Canadian police are taking new steps to break up the blockade that has paralyzed the capital for nearly 3 weeks. Officers in Ottawa handed out leaflets warning drivers to leave immediately or risk arrest. Crowds protesting COVID-19 restrictions have jammed the streets outside Parliament. Many saying they'd rather go to prison than give up. And Los Angeles threw a party for its Super Bowl winners. The LA Rams boarded open-top buses for their victory parade throughout the city. Fans crowded the streets to cheer quarterback Matthew Stafford along with MVP Cooper Kupp and the rest of the champions, ending with a rally outside the Coliseum.
Little breaking news before we get out of here. Senior U.S. official says Russia has delivered a response to the U.S. and NATO on proposals for European security. Be safe out there. Be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Welcome to Sonic. May I take your order?